round of applause. I want to invite you to give a big round of applause to each one of you for your encouragement, your support, and the energy you've given us. A big, big round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you for, as I said, all the warm energy you've given us in the last few months. It's a privilege and a pleasure to welcome you to People Matters Tech HR 2022 in Singapore. So the video was inviting us to think about this world, which is a lot more complex, a lot more uncertainty, a lot more ambiguous in many ways. But it's also a world a lot more full of possibilities, and a world that brings an opportunity for each one of us as leaders in our organization, our industry, to design a world that we are really, really proud of. And that's the opportunity that we have in our generation. Historians, analysts have always seen pandemics in history over a period of time as opportunities for big societal shifts. And it's interesting how pandemics provide a window or a gateway between the old and the next. Each one of us as a community leader have two choices in this gateway: either to put it back in the past, regress, go back to the old ways, or walk through that gateway with a mindset to create a new economic model, a mindset to change the way we live, the way we work, to create a society that is more inclusive, that it's cleaner, safer, and a society that is worth fighting for. And that's really the choice we have at this very moment. And this is the window. This gateway is just that window. Warm welcome to People Matters Tech HR once again. The theme this year is Rethink What's Possible. And it's an invitation for each one of us to really think about what are those new possibilities and how do we embrace them with that mindset of these fresh eyes. And you're going to be hearing that as we go through the day today. It is Asia's largest HR-owned World Tech Conference. This is our 4th year. Many of you had the opportunity to be here in 2019 when we had the privilege to host you all in Singapore. 2020, 2021, we reinvented ourselves and we were able to reach a much larger audience, and we were able to host People Matters Tech HR virtually for all of you. And this is our 4th year, and I'm privileged to be able to host you all once again in Singapore, but at a much larger scale. Many of you are joining us from across the region. And I think that's the mindset of rethinking what's possible that we were able to do. When we look back at the last 2 years, we had to rethink what's possible as a brand. You needed us more than ever. We had to come together as a community. And as People Matters, we had to rethink what's possible overnight, like many of your businesses. You had to reinvent the way you were serving your customers. You had to reinvent the way you were connecting with your employees. And we learned how to do that. We are privileged today, and I think very fortunate to be able to be here today. And we are grateful as People Matters that we can bring you all together at a much more inclusive, not just here physically, but also virtually for all of you who are joining us from across the region. So when we look at the context that we are living in, especially in our region, I think the opportunities that we had at the economic level and what's been happening in the last few years in the different countries in ASEAN, and how are we really leapfrogging, not just in payment tech, fintech, edutech, skill tech, industry after industry, we are leapfrogging in our own countries. And that's really due to two main reasons. One is our large workforce, 650 million labor. It's actually larger than Europe and larger than North America. And we are the 3rd largest labor workforce in the world. Coupled with our economic power, 3 trillion, almost 3 trillion economy growing at a 5% year on year in the last 20 years. And that's really the foundation of those possibilities. Couple that with the technology convergence. What we are seeing post the pandemic is what many analysts call the 5th industrial revolution, which really means that all those technologies that were already existing, many of them for 10, 15, even 20 years, they are now converging and being able to create possibilities that were not possible before, not just at the digital and physical level, but also at the biological level. So we're going to be talking about this a little bit throughout this session today, but throughout the conversation in the agenda today. So I'm going to invite you very quickly, because when we invite you to think about the mindset of possibilities and rethinking what's possible, I'm always thinking about what are some of those emotions that come in our mind. What are some of those feelings? When we think about the wall of possibilities, we think about this economic prosperity, we think about our challenging environment. What are some of the feelings or emotions that come? And very, very quickly, we'll just do this very quickly in your groups, 2 or 3, just turn to your colleague and say, what are some of those emotions? I'm just going to give you some 20 seconds to just discuss with your groups of 2 or 3. What are some of the feelings associated with the mindset of possibilities? And if you're seeing this virtually, inviting you to use the chat on the right side, and you can share those feelings as well with everyone in the community. All right. So let's hear some of those feelings. You'll have to speak very loud. Can I hear some of those feelings? Can I? Prosperity? Possibilities? Surprises, okay? You have to speak louder, huh? Excitement? Hope? Abundance? Challenges, thank you so much. Positivity? Will? Some more? Say again? Explore. Thank you, Raj. What else? Shout from the middle layers. Growth? Anxiety. Interesting. So, as we can hear some of those words, many of those words are positive, many of those words are feelings that are filling up with that positivity, but some of those words are also not so positive words. So when we think about possibilities, there is always that fear, right, or fear of failure, right, kind of emotions. And what we're going to be embracing today and inviting you to think about is this interesting quote from Steve Jobs, that innovation really happens when we look at change as opportunity. And when we look at these possibilities with that frame of hope, possibility, gift, abundance. And that's the frame of mind that helps us really see the opportunities. And of course, I don't mean to say threats are not important. Of course, there are a lot of threats, and those are important for us to plan and make sure that we're able to de-risk as much as we can. But it's really the mindset of possibilities that can help us innovate as human capital professionals. So a couple of things I want to leave you with today as we start People Matters Take HR. One is throughout the day today, you're going to have an opportunity, of course, to connect the dots on how technology is changing the way we look at people and work. So that's really how the agenda has been designed. The second thing is going to be about what is your role as human capital professionals to drive that acceleration and impact in the organization. And these are really the 2 big agenda items for us. So the first agenda item, which is going to be really about how technology is changing our people and work environment. I want to share this story very quickly with you, which is the story of the inventor of the chess game. How many of you know the story? How many of you know the story? Oh, nice. Okay. All right. So this is a very nice story of the inventor of the chess game. He went to his patron to say, well, I've invented this game, and this is the way you play it. And the patron was amazed. He said, this is an amazing game, this is a breakthrough invention, and I will grant you whichever prize you want as a reward. You can ask for whatever you want. So the inventor thought, and after a few days, he came back to the patron and said that what I want is as much rice as you can putting one and doubling up in every one of the square of the chessboard. So there's 64 squares. So you put 1 grain in the first one, and then you double up to 2, then you double up to 4, then you double up to 8, and so on and so forth until you complete the 64 squares in the chessboard, and that's my reward. So the patron really thought that this guy was a little bit of a fool. Why will you just ask for rice, right? And he granted the prize, and he said, of course, thinking that it will be, was such a small price for him to pay for this invention. Little did he know that, of course, what he had committed was 1,000 times more rice that exists on Earth today, and a mountain of rice as big as the Mount Everest. So legend says the patron went bankrupt, he lost everything he had, and the chess inventor was able to take over his full kingdom. So this story, why am I sharing this story with you, is because when we talk about, and you're going to hear that throughout the day today, when we talk about exponential growth, when we talk about convergence of technology, our human brain doesn't really comprehend what exponential really is all about. And our human brain tends to underestimate the effects that exponential growth or convergence actually has. So as we go through today, and you're going to be hearing a lot of leaders talking about exponential growth, converging of technologies, my invitation is to remember this story and say, am I really understanding the impact that this may have in my industry, the impact this may have in my organization, the impact this may have in the way we look at people and work in my organization, because the nature of our human brain will tend to be underestimate the effects that this may have. So what are some of those technologies? And of course, again, we'll see them throughout the day today. When we talk about metaverse, many of your companies already playing with what would metaverse look like in the context of people and work. Last year, actually 7 months ago, Bill Gates said that in 2014, each one of us will already have an avatar. 2024, each one of us will have our own avatar, and we'll be interacting and meeting our colleagues in a metaverse-like environment. This is an example of August last year. There was a 9-minute concert in the metaverse that actually raised $20 million, which is 20 times more than what the physical concert of Travis Scott, the US singer, had done before COVID. So it's not just an opportunity to connect with our consumers, and many brands like Samsung, banking are already buying real estate in the metaverse to connect with customers, but it's also a great opportunity for us as human capital professionals to think about metaverse as a way to onboard, as a way to recruit, as a way to be able to design learning interventions, as a way to really connect and create that belonging. So we're going to see some examples of that as we go through today. Another technology that is, of course, very common at the currency level, when we talk about blockchain, a lot of use cases of crypto and NFTs are also coming along. And this is one example on how we're creating digital flexes or digital art. All of you know Beeple's example. Very early in the COVID times, this 5,000-day piece was actually sold for $68 million. It's a digital art piece. And CryptoPunks was also another big of these initiatives. And you're going to get the opportunity to actually create your own digital flex during TechHR. So you can join us at the People Matters stall, and you'll get the opportunity to get your own NFT minted. The objective of it is really to play along with these technologies. What will blockchain mean from the perspective of background verifications, authentication of skills, degrees, authentication of work that we've done, work experience? And I think these are all some of the use cases that we will invite you to think through as we go through the agenda today, to play with those technologies and connect the dots on how can we use them more at the people and work environment. So this is really that opportunity, the renaissance, as we think about this new economic model. The pre-COVID economic model was focused on the role of the government, the role of the private sector. Our invitation is, this portal gives us an opportunity to say, what's the role of society? And how can we maximize societal well-being as the outcome of all of us coming together. What is our role as human capital professionals in this transformation? What's our role in this opportunity to create this new economic model? I came across this story, and this is a 2004 story, but I think a lot of lessons, again, sometimes you have to go to the past to go to the future. And there is late Professor Sumantra Ghoshal. He was a professor at INSEAD and also founding dean at ISB. And in 2004, he shared his reflection in Davos. And he was talking about what's the role of leaders. And I found that metaphor very meaningful to all of us here as owners of people and culture in our organization. He shared his own story. He said, when I go back to Asia in summer, it's very hot, it's very humid, it rains, and I'm at home, and I don't feel like going out. I feel lethargic, I feel lazy. And this environment, I find it very claustrophobic. Right? Many of you can relate to that, this hot summer, humid. How do you feel? You feel lethargic, you don't feel like really doing much. And that's how he was reflecting, that's how I feel. And he contrasted that with when I go to a forest, and he talks about forests in France, but I think we have beautiful forests and reserves in Asia. So imagine yourself when you go in the dry season, you go with your family, you go to these forests, whether it's in Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, and you're walking through that. And he reflects about, I feel so much of energy. I can't stop but wanting to just run and jump. And here he invites us to reflect about, here is the same person, and how different I am when I'm in one context and when I'm in the other context. But I'm still the same person. It's a beautiful metaphor for us to reflect about his quote. We can't change people. He's the same person, whether he's sitting in this really hot and humid environment, or he's in this really amazing, fresh, dry day, spring, beautiful environment. We can't change people, but we can change the context. And with his own personal example, he tells us how different the context makes him give and strive. And I think that's the opportunity we have as people and culture leaders to really define that context for our organization and create an environment, what he calls it the smell of the place. It's so beautiful. The spirit of the place where people feel like they want to give. People want to thrive. People want to innovate. And that's the environment that we have an opportunity to create for our organizations. He also gives us 4 hints. What does that mean? And throughout the day today, when we're talking about technology, process, systems, we need to help the organization scale. We need to help the organization to be more sustainable. But how do we shift from the mindset of creating constraints to people, giving that environment where, I don't have freedom, I feel lethargic, I feel constrained, as opposed to say, well, I create process and systems so you can stretch. So the processes are created to help you stretch, not to constrain you. The second invitation is, he says, the processes, technology, systems are created to help you have self-discipline, not to comply. Imagine such a beautiful difference, right? It's not to comply, but it's to allow everyone to be more self-disciplined, to know what's important. From moving from controlling to say, can we create mechanisms that actually create checkpoints for support? The checkpoints are for supporting every individual and every team to thrive. The checkpoints are not to control, but to support. And then finally, the contracts are not to constrain, but really to build trust. So how are we able to move from contracts to an environment of trust? And that's the invitation. As we rethink what's possible, how can we create forests in our organization? How can we create an environment for people to be wanted to give and thrive in our business? And that's really the Take HR spirit. We also want to create a forest for all of you today. And we want to create an opportunity to create that environment of learning and exchange and networking. I think for many of you, maybe the first event outside of your hometown. I know many of you have traveled from Indonesia, from Philippines, from Malaysia. Very warm welcome, all of you from Singapore as well. Thank you so much. And that's the spirit. And we're going to start with a small exercise. There's always, when you have to create a spirit, then it has to be created by everyone. So all of you have a card that says, I found you. It will be somewhere. If you don't have, it's not on your, it will be either on your chair. You may be sitting on it. If you don't have a card, can you raise your hand? And then I'll just request my, if you don't have one card, just keep your hand up. If you don't have a card. All right, and if you don't have a card, just keep your hand up. All right, I can see there's one hand at the back. All right, just make sure that everyone got a card. Keep your hand up if you don't have a card. Awesome. And if you have a card, show me your card. Yes. Awesome. Wonderful. So throughout the day today, you're going to have these cards finding you. All right, so this card was meant for you. All cards are different. And this card was meant for you, which basically means there is either a question or a reflection that was looking for you and found you, right? So what we're going to do today, and it will happen throughout the day as well, you have an opportunity to use those cards as individual reflections, or you may want to share with somebody, whatever is happening in the card and answer the question or reflection. So what we're going to do today, right now, is a little bit of a dry run. So I'm going to invite you to stand up in a minute, not now, stand up, find somebody you don't know, and have a conversation. You may have a question, a reflection you may share with your colleague, and he or she may share with you, and that's it. There is an opportunity to just share and meet someone new. Yeah, are we ready? And it should be somebody you don't know. You could have met in the morning, that's fine, but somebody ideally that you don't know. So are we ready? Yes? All right, so you can stand up. You can just leave all your stuff. Stand up. Go find somebody you don't know. All right, and if you finish your conversation, you can come back. All right, so if I can invite you to conclude your conversation and invite you to take your seat. Thank you very much. All right, thank you. All right, inviting everyone to come back. Can I have everyone's attention now? Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so as I invite you back, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so inviting everyone back on their seats, and you're going to have an opportunity to find these cards throughout the day, and inviting you to use them not only as a reflection point, but maybe as a conversation point. Thank you so much. All right, so very quickly, as I invite everyone back, and I have everyone's attention. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, can I have everyone's attention? Thank you. Every time I invite you to stand up and take time to discuss with your peers, then it becomes even more difficult for me to bring you back. Thank you. So as we invite you to embrace the Take HR spirit, again, remember, we are between this all and the next. And we have that window of opportunity to create these new possibilities. And that's going to be a combination of learning, networking, meeting, service providers, product companies that are doing amazing work. And that's what we're going to have the opportunity to do throughout the day. So once again, the agenda, when you look at the agenda, you will see there are 4 tracks. There's a lot of content, different formats on 4 different pillars: the digital business pillar, the future of technology pillar, the implementation of technology in people and work, and then your own development, which is all the masterclasses and the exclusive roundtables that we're going to be hosting today. Throughout the day today, you're going to also have an opportunity to share with the outside world. So please use #TakeHRSG for sharing with everyone in the community what's happening inside this room and what's happening inside our virtual platform. And also, I've already seen many of you taking photos in our Take HR SG. Share it with your colleagues and bring that energy. And that's what we really aspire to do as we rethink what's possible. Once again, very warm welcome to People Matters, Take HR. Welcome to Asia's largest HR and Work Tech conference. Welcome to Rethink What's Possible. And remember, Take HR is not a conference. Take HR is an experience, and you make it memorable and unique. Thank you very much.